right. Here we go. My favorite thing to do every Saturday morning is podcast, right? That's how it rolls. That's how you roll with the punches. You know, hey everybody, it's Andy, aka producer, by the way, or producer BTW on Twitter. I'm Andy. Welcome to another installment of Cafe BTW, a morning gaming coffee podcast. I'm your host, like I said before. This week, no guests, but I have some really cool announcements coming up for you guys. So in the next month, we're going to have two really great guests. One of the guests is going to be from the Twitch universe, and his name is Game Tracks. And we're going to dive into music next month because he is very, very attached to music, and really excited about that. And then on TikTok, there's an influencer named the 1980s Gamer, and he is a huge retro gaming collector, and he's also really smart about video game secrets. So he actually knows like tons of like the early NES video game secrets, and really excited to have him on board next month. And we're going to continue to have guests come on. It won't always be these one-off shows with me talking your face off, but excited to get back into that. Of course, we did have Ryan, who was a Nerf influencer that was on the show not too long ago. But of course, you know, anyone that's here live or on VOD, thank you so much for stopping by. It's another Saturday in the pandemic. And you know, we're here to wake you up on a Saturday morning, maybe wake you up, you know, if you got that coffee ready, get that coffee ready, stir it into that mug, or drink your iced coffee like me. I'm addicted to iced coffee. I don't know what to tell you. Living in South Florida for a few years really made drinking hot coffee hard to do. And now that I live in LA, you know, it's really just the same old story when it comes to coffee. But I got my cup. I got you guys live. Today's going to be interesting. We never really talked about handhelds. So today we're going to run down a little bit of a gambit of the history of handhelds from more of an evolution perspective. So, you know, watching and knowing, you know, the course of the handheld market from, you know, the early beginnings in the late 70s to the later, you know, ways that we play handhelds today with the Switch. Because I feel like the Nintendo Switch is like the modern handheld. I mean, even though the Switch technically is a console, sort of, it really is the evolution of the handheld in the highest regard, because it includes and encompasses everything that the generation has seen. So that's why it's important to kind of start in the beginning. But I do want to talk about, you know, and I want to let everyone know that usually on the podcast I talk about a few current events. Sometimes it's not always video game related. And today it's kind of video game related, but not. I wanted to talk about this new app that a lot of people might have heard of, and it's an audio drop-in chat app, which you can only get invited to, and it's called Clubhouse. You might not have heard of it, but basically it looks like this. You could basically, there's no video. It's all audio based. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up today is because it's been really interesting. So I was invited to this app about more than a month ago, and when I went on it, it wasn't very crowded. And the way it works is there's chat rooms, and you can create your own chat room. So for instance, I saw esports experimental marketing chat room. So you go in there, and you know, there's speakers, and they can bring you up to the top of the chat, or they throw you down into the audience where you can't hear, you're muted, but you can come up and ask questions. Or people are doing panels, people are doing comedy rooms. And I thought it was interesting to talk about it because it's very new. It's one of those apps that's just taking off. And already what they're saying is that Clubhouse gets an investment interest of $1 billion valuation. And it's literally only been 2 weeks since there's been an explosion in this app. Now, you can look at it. You can download the app, I believe, in the App Store, and it's called Clubhouse, or join Clubhouse. And it's a really just interesting app that has really just surprisingly taken off, and it's got all this audio only features. And as you know, as a podcaster and someone that's been using audio only for a long time, I'm really liking this app, but the problem I'm having with it is that you're going into these rooms where they're like, I know about esports or I know about influencer marketing and blah, blah, blah. And where a lot of it is informative and interesting, a lot of it is ego driven. And a lot of people are just like explaining, how many, naming all the brands they've worked with. And I guess that's fine, but it's such a weird experience right now. And I tried to start it. I started a retro room because I feel like there haven't been like much of a retro video game perspective from this app. So I created a retro room last night and like literally only 2 people showed up, but I'm going to continue to grind because I feel like the app is just full of like business savvy people that are just trying to network and clout chase. And again, it always bothers me when it comes to clout chasing because clout chasing can be really bad for you. And here I am on Twitch, right? There's probably like 3 people watching me right now, but I don't let that anxiety bother me. And I think when you see these new apps, immediately these people are like, how could I be the influencer on Clubhouse? How could I be the new influencer on TikTok, So I really get worried when new apps come out like this, and I get worried about mental health. And, the problem with Clubhouse is that people, do these rooms for hours. Like, you could talk for hours. Like I could talk for hours. I could do this podcast for God knows how many hours, I could, but I just want to say that, when a new app comes out and you're clout chasing like this Clubhouse app, just be careful. You got to remember that mental health is important and that you got to make sure that you're kind of varying your experience with things. So, because for instance, I work Monday through Friday, I work remote. I only have Saturdays to stream. I'm not a full-time streamer, but I've balanced out my life to make streaming accessible to me by doing, my retro talks and whatnot. And when I see new apps come out, like this Clubhouse audio app, it's totally cool. It's totally awesome, but just be careful, how much you're using these new apps. And clout chasing is not always a healthy thing to do, So check it out. It's called Clubhouse. It's you can only be invited to it, but you can download the app and actually be able to wait in a waiting list. And then if there's a friend of yours in the app, they could invite you in. So right now it's not Android users either. So it's only iPhone users. So, all in all, just be careful when it comes to new things and new apps. I want people to just realize that it's, cloud chasing is a scary thing. And I'm seeing a lot of egos in this app, and it's kind of weird. And I just wanted to talk about it. Obviously, this is a retro podcast, but what I'm doing is every Friday night, I'm hosting a retro room in this app. And unfortunately, last night, I didn't have a lot of people show up, but that's okay. I don't care. I don't let it bother me. But I had an amazing conversation with 2 other people, and we talked about, like, video game rating systems. Like, will video game collecting, will we eventually start paying for like rating systems for it and getting graded video games? And I was arguing the fact that I don't think it's going to get to the point where like comic books and trading cards and Pokemon cards are getting, because when you're collecting retro video games, when I go to a retro video game store, I never see video games that are graded. I feel like grading items is a scam. It's like you're sending in an item to get judged by some company that's charging you for their judgment. So in the retro video game world, grading isn't really a thing, but in the Pokemon world, it is, like Pokemon card world and stuff like that. So I don't know. But anyway, scratch all that. Let's get into today's show because I'm really excited. Today we're talking about a brief history of handheld games and the history of handheld market, and kind of the evolution of that. And we're going to walk through quickly here things that might come out and remind you of the start of handhelds. And if you're as old as I am, you played things like Mattel's football game. You played Game & Watch and stuff like that. And to kick it off, really, the true handheld, Nintendo really had the right idea. And we're going to watch this early 1980s trailer for Nintendo's Game & Watch. Enjoy.
Game Watch. Game Watch. ジャッジボールバーミンファイヤーマイクロコンピューターを使ったゲームウォッチゲームをしないときはデジタル式クォーツ時計です。ゲームウォッチ
All right. So Game & Watch was cool, and my brother had a Game & Watch, and Game & Watch is really just like very early Nintendo, getting into the the handheld market, and they were really cool. And obviously, as we know today, they've made new versions of Game & Watch as a nostalgic replica re-release, stuff like that. So Game & Watch is definitely a handheld that has to be mentioned. And if you've never really played Game & Watch, you know that Game & Watch are in Smash Brothers now. That's how nostalgic it is that Nintendo went as far as to put them into Smash Brothers, which I thought was really remarkable. After that, I would like to move on to another commercial for Game & Watch, and this is more American-based, obviously. This is a Toys R Us commercial from 1983. Let's check it out.
Adventure is on the horizon. Stanley's going buggy. Mario
I love the
Brothers
music
have
here,
their
the beat.
hands full, and Donkey Kong's going ape. It's rough seas for Popeye, and Snoopy's got to get on the ball. But you can help. You got Nintendo Game & Watch. That's pocket power. Widescreen or
Isn't this
multi-screen
music
games
great?
You can play indoors or out. They tell you the score and even the time. They're pocket power. They're Game & Watch. 14 in all, only from Nintendo.
14 in all. Look how cool they were.
Pocket power.
Nice
Game
hoodie,
&
man.
Watch.
That's the one I had. So it was a folding one, and it was so awesome. And I don't know if I still have it today. My mom might still have it, but man, that was like a fantastic version of Game & Watch. It was like a flip phone almost. Like it opened up, and you could actually interact with the two sides, and it was so clever. And man, Nintendo just, even in the old days, they really just knew what they were doing. Like, I mean, how could you ever go wrong with anything Nintendo? I mean, still to this day, Nintendo puts value and effort into all their products, right? Think about Cyberpunk that came out and how big of a game it was just to fail short of being, like, finished, So Nintendo will never let that happen. When Breath of the Wild was being created, they took their sweet time to make sure the game was great. And what happened when it released? When Breath of the Wild released, it was in perfect shape. It was such a good game, barely any bugs. You go into Cyberpunk, there's really literally a moment I was driving in Cyberpunk, and there was like a parking garage, and literally the whole fell through, and I just went through like the universe of the game in some weird bug. There was no floor in the parking garage that I pulled into. And I don't want to go down the Cyberpunk wormhole. But another thing that I skew a lot older, but the Mattel Football Game 2 from 1980 was awesome. So let's check this out.
Football 2 from Mattel Electronics.
I said, who's in there?
Hey, Mattel, I know who's in there. You wish, Franco. Look at Football 2's quarterback. Ever seen a better scrambler? A better passer? That's a fraction.
Isn't that funny? Like, he's like, look
Franco,
at him scramble.
Look at Football 2's quarterback.
What is he seeing on the screen? There's absolutely, like, nothing. Like, it's really funny that, like, he's like, talking about, like, look at him scramble when you, like, see nothing on the screen and no scrambling.
Ever seen a better scrambler? A better passer? That's a Bradshaw in there.
Looks like a Bradshaw getting sacked to me.
And intercepted.
I guess that's why they painted it Mean Joe Green.
Football 2 plays so great, you think is in there from Mattel Electronics.
I did not have one of those, but my friend did, and I thought it was really cute. Like those little like handhelds were actually pretty cool. All right, moving on down that evolutional path. One thing that's not technically a game, but something we should look at is Speak and Spell. If you guys remember Speak and Spell, it was literally this like electronic game, and this guy's kind of showing you it. Let me go forward. And you would like write words into it, and then it would talk. It was like a voice. It was like text to speech on a handheld, and you would put in a word, and it would go circuit, or it would whatever you wanted to put in it. And actually, interesting enough, I would love to get another one of these because the Speak and Spell, man, that's old school. That like goes way back to to the to the days of me being young. I don't know if anyone remembers Speak and Spell, but damn, Speak and Spell was something else. I'll tell you that. But I know it's not a video game, but I thought it was really interesting because it's still a kind of like a handheld, and it's definitely a part of that mythos and universe. So definitely worth the mention, I would say. All right, moving on. Obviously, 1989, probably one of the most famous handhelds of all time, and one that cannot be. I can't do this show without mentioning it, and that's the original Game Boy. And 1989 marked an amazing year for video games, especially for the handheld market, because that really kicked it off. The original Game Boy really brought forth where we see handhelds today. So, oh no, wait, did I not blast this in my Discord? Hold on a second. I forgot to let everyone know I'm live. But anyway, the Game Boy definitely represents the true start of the video game handheld market, because it was so well done. I mean, I don't even know, like, yeah, Genzo. I mean, I just forgot the Discord. It's fine. I tweeted it. But I do want to mention that when I was, let's see, in 1989, I was about 8 years old. So my dad bought the Game Boy for my brother, and then I got one too. And what was cool about the Game Boy is that you had that string, and you could like attach another Game Boy to another Game Boy, and you could do multiplayer back then. We used to play Tetris, me and my brother against each other, and that was like so ahead of its time. But let's watch an early infomercial for the 1989 release of Game Boy.
Honey, where's Andrew?
He's playing Nintendo.
I'm Andrew.
You better unplug the system.
There you are, Andrew. Come on, let's go.
Look at this guy. This dad just takes his NES. He's like, all right, I gotta take this.
Come on.
We'll just take the TV.
Champa's waiting for us. Everybody's waiting. Come on, let's go. The bus is coming. Come on.
The secret to Nintendo's success lies in bringing arcade game quality into the home. Taking it out of the home is another story.
You can take it to the lake. You can take it on a date. You can take it to a boring picture show. Ha! You can take it to the game. Ow! You can take it on a plane.
What's interesting about where so in this commercial, they're just saying you could take it to a game. Right here, take it to a movie. That's funny, Jenza. I can't see shit. What's funny is I think the most realistic one that we've seen so far is probably this one, Take It to a Plane, because, the future of plane flying, I see a million people with their DSs and 3DSs and Switches, and this is factual, but did it say take it to a movie? Oh my God, you're right. Wait.
You can take it on a picture show.
I can't see shit.
You can take it to a boring picture show. Ha! You can take it to the game. Ow! You can take it on a plane. You can take it anywhere you want to go.
Go with the power of the NES, right in the palm of
This
your
music's
hand.
amazing.
Game Boy, the state-of-the-art compact video game system for portable handheld video action. Completely self-contained, Game Boy features patented Nintendo controls, a cross-key joystick,
I love this music.
AV start and select buttons, screen contrast, and volume.
Man, they should be. Oh, hey guys on TikTok. I'm actually live on Twitch right now doing my podcast, so come on over and you could hear what I'm listening to. We're talking about retro handhelds, so just click the link in my profile and head on over if you'd like. We're live on Twitch right now. I'm dancing to the music of the Game Boy commercial.
Control. Powerful CPU and microprocessors allow complex scrolling back.
Anyway, I mean, the Game Boy itself, I mean, you can just I can't. If I did this podcast and didn't mention the Game Boy from 1989, this wouldn't be our history of handhelds, because the Game Boy just sparked the generation. And Nintendo, what's interesting is like Nintendo kind of started it, and look where we are today. And I'll get to the Switch, but literally they anchored that market. Hey, Carvet. Yeah, actually, we did an episode on Dreamcast, I believe. If you look at my podcast library, I'm pretty sure we did an episode on Dreamcast, so you can actually check back. I'd be happy to do another episode on Dreamcast, but it's one of my favorite systems of all time. Today we're doing handhelds, though. So let's move on from the 1989 Game Boy, and let's talk about the Lynx.
The Atari.
So the Lynx is interesting, and it was actually a pretty darn cool. He should clean his screen. It's a pretty darn neat handheld. It was big, it was comfortable, and it was made by Atari. So here's Atari getting back into the video game market with the Lynx, and it was a well-built machine. I don't remember how the battery life was, but I don't know if a lot of people remember the Lynx, but I thought the games were pretty darn good. It was an actually like really well-built system. I want to say that the batteries died really fast though. And it's probably a handheld that I need to find again. And I forgot what game I used to play on it. I think it was Rygar. So they had a release of Rygar, which is an old retro game. And it basically was, Rygar was where he would like throw like, I forget what it was. It was like a grappling hook. But the Lynx cartridges were really cool too, if you see here. And look how cool the boxes were. God, I don't even know if I have any Lynx games. I might have one. Cyberball was pretty good. I actually had that one. But yeah, a lot of people don't remember the Lynx, and I think it deserves a little bit of credit because it was actually a pretty well-built machine, and it was by Atari, who had kind of left the market after they crashed the market with ET in the early 80s. They didn't really kick off again until like the Atari Lynx and the Jaguar kind of came out. I think the Jaguar might have been not out yet when the Lynx came out. Don't hold me to that. I could be completely wrong. So moving on from the Lynx, we're going to move over to the TurboGrafx version of their handheld. So let's check out this commercial because the TurboGrafx handheld was actually pretty phenomenal. So let's check it out.
Are you one of us? 16-bit graphics, or one of them, 8-bit? Us. CD game sound. Them, not. Us. Them. Us. Turbo Express Portable.
It was called the Turbo Express Portable.
Buy TurboGrafx 16 now and get one of 38 selected games free.
So I didn't have this, but believe it or not, from what I'm told, is that the Turbo Express was pretty darn good and the graphics were pretty darn good. And I did have a TurboGrafx 16, which was like a cool system. And you know what I remember? I remember playing Darkwing Duck on my TurboGrafx. And you know what? I think we need to do an episode on the TurboGrafx because that's a system that goes unmentioned very often. And I know they did the mini TurboGrafx came out in the PC Engine, which if anyone doesn't know, PC Engine is TurboGrafx in other countries. So outside of the US, they called it the PC Engine, which was also a phenomenal machine and a little bit ahead of its time. And the graphic power for the TurboGrafx was pretty cool. All right, moving on from the Turbo Express, we're going to jump to the Sega Game Gear. So Sega decides we want in on this market. So Sega comes out with the Game Gear, which was very popular. And I had a Game Gear. I know a lot of people that collect retro games or are part of like the retro growth might have had a Game Gear. So very popular machine. Let's watch the Japanese commercial of the Game Gear.
Kenji, ゲームギアだいいだろう。カラーだしテレビも見れるの。で、400は白黒なの。つまんないね。後で貸してあげるから。色いっぱい。だから面白い。
And what was cool? Yeah, it took like 8 batteries, dude. I mean, that was the problem with handhelds back in the 90s and 80s or late 80s is that you didn't really have the battery power that you do today. Even the Switch, I think. I mean, when the Wii U came out and they're like handheld, that thing didn't last more than an hour. And then the Switch today obviously has a lot more battery life, thank God. But yeah, you'd be buying batteries like Corvette said, like you're buying water. You know, like that is pretty much the funny part about that whole thing. All right, so the Game Gear was definitely worth the mention. Now let's move on. Now what's happening is that the evolution of handhelds is starting to spin out of control, in a sense that a lot of publishers are getting into saying we need a handheld, we need to be in this market. So as you've seen already, Nintendo came out in '89. Atari's like, we got one. Sega's like, we got one. So including and staying on Sega, they released something called the Sega Nomad, which is also a handheld that I had. And literally, it was a mini Genesis. It was a portable Genesis because you could use Genesis games. That was the whole point of it. And this was really cool. I must say that the Nomad, to this day, is still a really neat system. I think it did have a plug-in adapter. As you see here, this guy has it. But it also, this thing just... I remember being in a car trip, and I brought my Nomad, and I remember it lasted like an hour, and then I was screwed, and I didn't have extra batteries until we stopped at a food stop or whatever, or 7-Eleven, and got more batteries. But what was so cool about it is that they didn't need to make new cartridges. You just used your old Genesis games, and if you have a Nomad today, you know, hold on to it, because it was, and you see in the bottom there, you could hook in a Genesis controller on the Nomad. So if you go back, let's see, I'll show you. You can see the plug for it. Here, I'll pause it in a second. Come on, flip it over, man. There it is. So that is actually where you can plug in a Genesis controller. So I remember I used to like sit there and I would like play the Genesis controller. And I don't know, it was a really cool system. And some people don't even know this thing came out. I forgot how much it was though. I think it was pretty expensive actually. All right, moving on. As I said, we have different publishers. We have different companies coming out with their own. Now, Neo Geo is arcade cabinets that you know and love. They came out with the Neo Geo console, which was very expensive, but they actually had a Neo Geo, the SNK Neo Geo Pocket Color. So here's a commercial, and let's check it out.
It's here, the revolutionary Neo Geo Pocket Color. With 16-bit power, linked to the Sega Dreamcast. Revolving joystick. 146 color display. 6 cool styles. The graphics will blow you away. Neo Geo Pocket, way ahead of the game.
Not as popular as other handhelds, but it was kind of along the lines of a Nomad because it was 16-bit power in your hand. And I personally never got to play it. I personally never really got to try it, so I don't really know how good it was, but I do know it existed. So just wanted to bring that one up as we're going through. And we're getting close to the end here. We're getting through the generations now. Next up, I have kind of like, we're going to go backwards a little bit. So even though the handheld market was exploding in 1992, Tiger came out with what were the Game & Watch style games from the early 80s, bringing them back using different types of brands and marketing tools like Street Fighter. So I can't go without mentioning the Tiger Electronic handhelds. Let's watch this.
Be a Street Fighter. You're no Street Fighter. Not until you've mastered the 6 world warriors of the Street Fighter 2 handheld game. 100 hand slaps and rolling attacks, fireballs and hurricane kicks are your weapons. Beat 3 in a row. Zangi are your weapons.
I like this guy's expression right now. Ready?
3 in a row.
He's like, oh shit.
Zangi, Honda, Blanca. Then we'll talk. Street Fighter 2 handheld.
So it's interesting that they decided to, you know, with all the competition of like the higher res versions of like, you know, Game Boys and whatever was back in the early 90s, Tiger was like, we're going to re-release this style of Game & Watch. And it actually did really well. And people still have these collectibles. I had a bunch of these, and these were great in the car. Were they good? Technically, they were really bad. But there was something really just, I don't want to use the word cute, but it was just really fun and simple. And the way they looked, like the way they were just cool. And collecting them was also just a fun thing to do, you know. So anyway, I can't go without mentioning the Tiger. If I'm talking about the history of handhelds, we can't not talk about Tiger games, right? So moving on, one that is really interesting is the Nokia N-Gage, which was a phone portable video game system and kind of ahead of its time, because as we know today, iPhones and Android phones, we can play video games and handhelds. Horrible play, but let's check out some N-Gage. You'd rather play ET on a tire than an N-Gage? Okay. Yeah, it wasn't very good. But you got to give them credit for at least trying to merge a phone and a handheld. So as bad as it was, they were kind of ahead of the curve. So, I mean, you got to give them that. I mean, you'd rather play ET on Atari? That's a rather big difference. But okay, I'll give you that. All right, so moving right along. One of my favorite introductions to a handheld, and probably, in my mind, probably the start of things really spiraling for handheld markets. So Nintendo comes out with in E3 2004, they do this.
Well, the wait is over. This is Nintendo DS.
Boom. This marked, oh, what's up, dude? Legendary Eevee, what's up, Adam? Give it up for Adam. Thanks for stopping by, man. It's good to see you, bud. Former Destiny podcast co-host right there. What's up, man? It's Reggie, yeah. So this moment, like, broke the grounds, like really broke open the handheld market and changed the way we perceived handhelds. I mean, look at this thing. Let this play out a little bit and let Reggie do the talking.
From the time we announced its code name, you've known these initials to represent the most obvious feature: dual screens. But that's not what the initials stand for to us. DS has a much larger and more relevant meaning. DS, Developer's System. In creating DS, we've given the world's most talented game makers new tools to work with, new ways to express their imaginations, and of course, in the end, new enjoyment for all of us. The result is this: DS not only changes Nintendo, it changes our industry.
Ooh, is he right? Oh, man, could he not have said that better? Reggie was the best. Damn, I mean, how could you go wrong with Reggie? He was the absolute best legend. I mean, that was such a good intro to a generation. He said it for me. I didn't have to tell you guys that this was the start of really the forward generation of handheld market. And Nintendo, we could thank Nintendo over and over again for their amazing interest in the handheld market, because if it wasn't for Nintendo, the Switch wouldn't be out. It's really remarkable to think about how important Nintendo was in this evolution of the handheld market. Moving right along, we have now Sony deciding, like, Legendary, he was the best until he turned Nintendo over to Bowser. Well, he didn't really turn it over, man. He retired. Reggie put in his work. I didn't blame Reggie. It was kind of a surprise when he retired, and it was sad. But it's not like he got fired or anything. He just retired. Nintendo is the most innovative gaming company ever. Absolutely, 100%, my friend. Let's watch now Sony saying, we need to get into this handheld market. And here's their announcement of the PSP. So here comes Sony. And you know what? The PSP and the Vita, they had a following. They had a big... actually, the Vita, I heard, is one of the most underrated handhelds ever made. I didn't have a PSP. I don't know. I get that Sony was getting into it, and I was always wondering, was Xbox ever going to get into the handheld market? But they didn't. And now, what you know, and we'll get to that when I get to the Switch in a second, but... I wasn't a huge fan of the PSP, but I know there's definitely people that were, and there's definitely a market for it, and definitely people that enjoyed it. But yeah, it was a cool looking handheld for its day. It was definitely Sony-esque, you know. Let's hear what he has to say.
Thank you.
All right, is he going to say anything?
Why is PlayStation Portable so important at this stage in the game?
Why is it important?
After building tremendous equity in the home console space, we began to look at the mobile market. We waited to introduce a product at the right time, and we believe the timing now is right.
So PSP ruined their handheld chances. The ability to do remote play your PS3 with your Vita was certainly ahead of its time. Definitely. And welcome to the stream, Dem. I have a modded one with about 1,000 games. A Legendary Eevee says, and hey, TikTok, just so you know, I'm live on Twitch right now. So if you guys want to come over, hit the link in my profile and come check out the Twitch stream right now. Legendary Eevee says, they shouldn't have gone with the digital only so early. It was too soon and the world wasn't ready for it at the time. Genzo, you could argue that Microsoft did through game streaming and stuff like that. Yeah, but that wasn't a handheld. Corvette says, I hope they never go all digital. I love seeing my game collection on my shelf. Well, that's another conversation, Corvette, for another episode where we can talk about, you know, why the digital revolution might be good for video games and why it might be bad. That's a great topic, to be honest. But now moving on from the PSP. Of course, they had the Vita, but I don't want to go into that. Next up is where I think things started to really go in a really cool direction when the 3DS came out. And I think that everyone enjoyed a 3DS and really liked it. So let's watch this. The reveal of the 3DS. You want to join me on that one, huh? Yeah, I'd love to have you, man. Let's do it. All right. Yo, and Adam, are you in my Discord? You should join the Discord. And anyone that wants to hang out with us in the Cafe BTW Discord, you know, join the Discord, stop by, hang out, ask me questions. If you have suggestions for other episodes, please let me know. All right, here we go. Let's watch the reveal of the 3DS.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Satoru Iwata.
And rest in peace, Iwata. He passed away. One of my favorite Nintendo executives. Rest in peace.
Everyone, this is Nintendo 3DS. I can't wait for you to try this. As you can see,
you know, I just want to stop for a second. And if you don't know who this guy is, this is the former CEO of Nintendo Japan and Nintendo America. This man was remarkable. So he should be credited for actually the Switch. He didn't get to live past seeing the Switch be so successful, but the team of Reggie and Iwata and Morimoto, these guys mark history in video games, and I want to just, give it up for Iwata, who unfortunately passed away a few years back. He was a really amazing person. He cared about his Nintendo fan base, and for an executive, he was fun. And you know what he's known for too? Nintendo was ahead of its time with, the Nintendo Direct, where they were like, you know what, we're going to give you new releases through a digital presentation, which is normal today. Doing a digital presentation for a release is normal today, but really Nintendo and Iwata started that whole trend. And again, Nintendo being ahead of their time, innovative, even in a marketing perspective. And I want to just say, I miss this guy. He was remarkable. And if you ever want to look up Iwata, check out the history of this guy. He was actually an original developer of the NES game Balloon Flight. Like, he goes back to an early programmer in Nintendo history, and really miss him.
It has 2 screens, and the upper screen has 3.5-inch widescreen display. And yes, it will show you full 3D graphics without the need for special glasses.
Absolutely. They were all innovative, even up to today. I mean, we could talk about the Switch, which we will in a second. So moving on from the 3DS, finally, we come to where we are today. We've gone through a whole, I'm sure there's other handhelds I missed or other ones that maybe weren't so standout-ish to talk about, but here we are today. The Nintendo Switch comes out. Let's watch. And appreciate, if you were here in the beginning of this episode, appreciate
Nintendo
the growth.
Switch is a home video game console. You connect it to your television to...
What I'm trying to say is appreciate the growth by watching this trailer. And this was an introductory explanation of how the console worked when the Nintendo Switch was announced. So take this in as an innovative feature. So we really book this, what I like to call a bookend. So you have 1989 Game Boy, and now you have the Switch. And who's running those? Nintendo. Nintendo will forever have the best grasp of the handheld market.
It apart is when you want to play away from your TV. You can remove it from the dock, get up, and go.
I'm not going into the Soldier Boy system.
Attach the Joy-Con controllers, and you can play anywhere. Nintendo Switch is designed to let you play games when and where you want.
I love it. Ooh.
TV mode. Allow you to hold each Joy-Con horizontally to
also the Joy-Con is pretty innovative. I mean, can we not agree?
Enjoy multiplayer gaming. Handheld mode. Attach the Joy-Con to the console, and you can enjoy.
So you have this, and then you have this. You have this. You have the Game Boy, right? Let me get a good shot of it. Where is it? You have this to this. This. Whoop. This to this. That was really cool. I mean, I'm kind of feeling nostalgic right now, just seeing the evolution of where we've ended up. And we've ended up at a point where it's just going to get better from here. And what's really interesting is that Sony, Xbox, no one's competing with Nintendo anymore. They're like, you know what? Nintendo has the handheld market down pat. And the fact that they turned their handheld into a home console hybrid, Nintendo just knows what they're doing. No one's going to mess with Nintendo. Nintendo knows better than anyone to stay in their lane, right? They don't want to compete with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox. It's more like the Switch has become another accessory in your gaming life. A lot of PC gamers have a Switch because they don't want a console, but there's definitely Nintendo games they want to play. All I do is play retro. hey, that's great too. And what's cool about the Switch is you can play a lot of retro games. They got the whole NES, well, not the whole NES library, but they got a good amount of it. I just think it's really cool. And being as old as I am, it's really nice to see the evolution, especially of handhelds and how important they are to our industry. You know, I know that people don't travel a lot right now, but people are still playing the Switch, and that's the beauty of it. But yeah, that's about it, everyone. That's about the run and history that I could express to you on the podcast about the history of handhelds, the evolution of handhelds. It really was a good episode. I really felt connected to this one because, you know, growing up in the video game generation, it's really cool to have seen this growth of where handhelds have gone. And just an honorable mention to the Wii U, because the Wii U might not have been successful, but it was a prototype to allow Nintendo to create the Switch. And I think that people have to give the Wii U some credit, because the Wii U gamepad really became what the Switch is today. And I didn't really talk about the Wii U, but I did want to mention that if we're going to talk about that, we got to mention the Wii U for Nintendo might have been a failure on a sales perspective, but it was really what helped them create the Switch. Going to play some Dreamcast in a bit. Feel like killing some zombies in Resident Evil 2. Hell yeah. I got my Dreamcast too. Should hook it up and play some games. But yeah, Carvet, I believe I did do a Dreamcast episode. I'm sorry, we've done a bunch of podcasts now, but if you check the podcast library, and yeah, exactly, Adam, I agree. That being said, I hope everyone had a good time today. I know we didn't have a ton of people on live, but if you're on VOD, thank you so much for watching the full episode. We'll be back next Saturday at 8 a.m. PST, 11 Eastern. I know I have 2 guests coming up in February, so stay for that. Next weekend, I believe, next weekend is the 30th, so we don't have anything on the card yet. I'll have to figure out the topic. If you'd like to join the Discord, please check out the Cafe BTW Discord. Give me suggestions for titles for next episodes. I'm happy to talk about it. And yeah, we're just going to keep on trucking here on Cafe BTW podcast. If you want to check out me on social, you could check me out at Producer BTW on Twitter. Socials are down below. I'm also on TikTok. I'm live right now. I usually go live during the podcast. But I really want to thank everyone that stopped by for the live this morning. And stay up, fam. I have a wonderful day, my dude. Thanks, Adam. But yeah, we're going to raid someone. I know we don't have a lot of people, but let's see who we want to raid today. Let's do my friend. This is Marta. She's awesome. So we're going to go to her. Yet? She's an awesome streamer. So why don't we raid her? And just give me a second here, folks. I really appreciate everyone that stopped by again. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. It means the world to me. I'll keep continuing to bring everyone retro content, nostalgia content, and we'll see you soon. Until then, I'm Andy. We're going to raid my friend, this is Marta. She's amazing. Check her out, please. And thanks, everyone, for stopping by. I'll see you next week. And I'm going to throw up some highlights later, so check out the socials and share your love of hanging out with me as we continue down this path of retro nostalgia every Saturday morning. I'm Andy. We'll see you next time. Check out Marta. She's really cool, and really appreciate everybody. Oh, wait a minute. What? Hatchlord is rating me? Oh my God. We got rated at the end. Wow. Hey, everybody. Jeez. I don't know what to say. I just kind of ended the podcast. We were talking about retro handhelds and holy crap. Okay. Well, I guess I should hang out a little bit and tell everyone what we were talking about. Damn. I got rated. Well, welcome to Cafe BTW, a morning gaming podcast. Thank you so much, Hatchlord, for the raid. I mean, we were just ending, but I guess I'm going to have to stick around a little bit more with all these wonderful people here. Jeez, that is pretty cool. Welcome, everyone. My name's Andy. Every Saturday morning, we do a retro podcast called Cafe BTW. We walk through the history of certain things in the nostalgia retro video game market. Today we talked about, of course, the handheld, history of the handheld. So we started with Game & Watch. Thanks everyone for joining. I think this is actually a record. I've never had this many people on the stream before. I don't know what to say. I'm kind of taken back, and really cool that Hatchlord rated me. And thanks everyone for the follows right now. And I wow, okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Let me just check who's been following me right now. This is great. Geez, thanks everyone. Oh my God, like I'm like totally like I've never been rated by this many people before. So thank you so much, everyone. Let me see who's been following me right now. Hold on one second. We got Vatachris, thank you so much. Tyrian, thank you so much. Rat707, thank you so much. Hatchlord, of course, thank you for the raid. Wow, guys. And Biff, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. We were talking about the history of the retro video game handheld. So we started with Game & Watch. We worked our way up to things like, if you guys ever remember this Mattel football game, we also walked through an old school item that you might remember, which was Speak and Spell. And then we went all the way up to, of course, the release of the Nintendo Game Boy, which I'll play this trailer again so you guys can enjoy it with us again. We'll replay it since we got all these people in here. I don't know what to say. I just finished my podcast, but awesome.
Where's Andrew?
He's playing Nintendo. You better unplug the system.
There you are, Andrew. Come on, let's go.
Dad, wait, I'm about to work.
Oh, thank you. I love Brock Sampson. I love the...
we gotta go, buddy. Come on.
Dad, come on.
Wow, I'm really happy. I mean, I'm sure, like, I really appreciate everyone that stopped by. Again, we kind of...
waiting for us. Everybody's waiting. Come on,
we kind of were at the end of this, but basically the moral of the podcast today was how important Nintendo was to the evolution of the handheld and how important they are today, especially with the Switch, and how far we've come and how important the handheld market is. So anyone that wants to check out the Discord, please join our Discord. I think Genzo threw it down there. We're also going to do some very good interviews with some guests. Just to give you guys an example, we had Daniel Posina from Mortal Kombat, who played the original Johnny Cage, on the show. You can check out some other podcasts below in my podcast library. We've talked about the Dreamcast. We talked about the history of nostalgia. How do we measure nostalgia? And if you really want to be a part of this journey with me, come here every Saturday. Help me out by just having fun with me, because what we're going to do here is what I always do, and I give you that unlocking nostalgia feeling. That's what it's all about. It's feeling the love of why we love video games, why we play video games today. And even if you're not a part of this generation, when you were young, your parents played a Game Boy. Your parents might have played the NES. This is important to keep the history of video games going. And I want to just say that I appreciate everyone that appreciates this stuff, because I'm not the type of streamer that plays video games, right? What up, Clayman? What's up? It's good to see you. I'm not one that plays video games, because who the hell cares for me playing video? Like, who wants to watch me play video games? But do you want to watch me talk about nostalgia and talk about the history? I'm absolutely here for you. So I really appreciate everyone that stopped by. Please give me a follow if you'd like to check out the show, so it's a reminder, or join the Discord. We'd love to have you. We'd love to hear any suggestions for how we can do the podcast in the future and what we could do for the podcast. I'm always open to talking about other topics. I'm open to having people on the show to talk about topics. We have a lot of regulars like Biff, who's always been very supportive to the stream. Genzo, who's my mod. Really want to thank everyone for chilling, and it was really cool to have Hatchlord raid me today. All the socials are below. My name's Andy again. You can check out Producer BTW on Twitter. I post retro nostalgic posts. On TikTok, it's Cafe BTW, but everything's below. Jan, what's up, man? It's good to see you. Oh, it's so awesome to see you too. So yeah, I'm just going to walk you guys through a few things that we talked about, and then I'm going to have to end the show, but I hope to see you guys next Saturday. I don't know if any of you had a Nomad. We talked about the Nomad. We talked about the Neo Geo Pocket, which was actually probably a retro handheld that you don't remember as much. Then we had the Street Fighter 2 Tiger handheld. So I know a lot of you people probably played the old Tiger handheld. So we talked about that today. We even talked about the N-Gage and how important it kind of was. A lot of people hated it, and I know someone had it and they said that the battery power was awful. But it was interesting because they were combining a Nokia handheld phone with a video game system, which today you have an iPhone and you can play video games. So it's something that we do every day now, is downloading video games on your phone. And then we moved up to the announcement of the DS, which I'll play again, which I love this announcement. Let's watch it together. Yes, we did. Oh, no, I don't think I talked about that.
Well, the wait is over. This is Nintendo DS.
All right. So, Biff, let me pull that up real quick. I think I know what you're talking about. Let's see if I can find a commercial of it. Or this is the one. Oh, yeah, look at that. I forgot all about this. Look at that. The Midway's official Pac-Man Game Watch. Oh, dude, that's so cool. I did have this. That is cool. Oh, my God. I totally remember this. Look at the joystick on the watch. I mean, how cool is that? Damn. Talk about unlocking nostalgia, huh? Yeah, that little joystick, huh? Look at that. That's pretty neat. So after that, we moved to the PSP. The announcement of the PSP, of course. So we moved up that ladder of the announcement of all that stuff. So then we ended up at the 3DS. Let me find the reveal.
Everyone, this is Nintendo 3DS.
Such a good system. The 3DS is awesome. And then, of course, we moved to where we are today, and this is where we end the podcast. As I was about to end the podcast, I got raided, so I wanted to make sure that before I leave, because I am going to head out, and we will raid someone with this awesome raid crowd. So thanks, everyone. If you want to check out the podcast again next Saturday, every Saturday at 8 a.m. PST, 11 Eastern, Cafe BTW, a retro gaming podcast. If you want to follow, give me a follow. Check us out. We're here every Saturday morning, and I can't wait to tell you that next month we're going to have Game Tracks, who's an awesome streamer. He's going to be talking about gaming music. We're going to have That 80s Gamer from TikTok, who's going to be talking about his retro collection and the secrets of video games. This guy knows all about hidden secrets in all the histories of video games. So I can't wait to have him on the show. And if you want to check out some former episodes, if you click on videos and you go to the podcast library, you'll see all the VODs available for the shows that I've done. And of course, this episode was the history of handhelds and the evolution of video game handhelds and how I perceive them over the course of history. So again, thanks so much for the raid, Hatchlord. Thanks everyone for stopping by. We're actually going to take this group and go raid actually probably a really cool person. And this is Marta. I was about to raid her before, so I want to thank everyone for stopping by today. Thank you so much for the raid. And if you could give me a follow, it goes a long way. You know, I'm still growing here on Twitch, and I don't stream a lot. I stream once every week at 8 a.m. PST. And again, check out my socials below. Really appreciate the time. Let's give Marta some love. She's an awesome streamer. Thanks again, everyone, for stopping by. It was a great show today. It makes me really happy to have everyone here. I care about everybody. I care about health and mental health and taking care of yourself. So if you need something to get your mind off of things on a Saturday morning, grab some coffee, come on by the cafe, by the way, and I'll take care of you. We'll talk about something very simple, you know, and things that we can all relate to. So until next time, I'm Andy, and I'll see you in the cafe. Until then, we're closed. So thank you very much.